As the most successful driver in the history of Formula One, Lewis Hamilton's future is of importance to many people, whether they're fans, team owners, or sponsors. So as the will they won't they drama of a new Mercedes contract continues towards the end of the year, the battle to get him signed will only become more intense and public. You might think that it's just a matter of Mercedes offering him enough money to stay on, but they're now being pitted against another Goliath of a team, Ferrari. Is Hamilton on the brink of joining Ferrari next year? Will Mercedes splash the cash to have the privilege of his company for another year? Or will he just say screw it and retire? Today I'll get you filled in on what's been happening with Hamilton's contract situation. Let's get started. Just in case you didn't already know, Lewis Hamilton is kind of a big deal. His time at the Mercedes Formula One team has made him the most successful Formula One driver of all time and an international superstar. Whether or not you're a fan, you can't deny the figures. Joint most World Drivers' Championships, most race wins, 15 seasons with race wins, most pole positions, most career points, most podium finishes, and the list goes on. You might not think he's the best driver in history. That's a debate I'll leave for you in the comments section. But he is the most successful. Being as successful as he has comes with some obvious benefits. For a long time, he was the best paid driver in the sport. With sponsorships taken into account, he's still out earning Max Verstappen, despite the Dutchman's mammoth contract with Red Bull. Another benefit is that until he actually publicly says he is retiring, most teams in the sport would fight for his signature. If you ignore the cost of paying his wages, only Red Bull wouldn't have a go at getting him in their car. In the real world, there are only 3 teams that can really afford his monumental wage bill. His current team, Mercedes, his arch-nemesis Red Bull, and the poster boys of old, Ferrari. For many years, driving for Ferrari was the dream for every Formula One driver. It still is for many of the grid, but most of the young drivers coming through weren't even old enough to drive a car competitively when Ferrari were last winning championships. Ferrari are no longer the indomitable Centurion that we see in grainy footage on YouTube compilations and Sky Sports documentaries. Like all great warriors, they've grown old, losing their strength and speed, and are in complete denial about it. Understandable, I would be too if I were them. No one wants to grow old. But Hamilton grew up watching Michael Schumacher zip up a red racing suit and perform feats that have never since been seen in a Formula One car. He is still of the generation who idolised Ferrari as the pinnacle of motorsport, and has always said that driving for Ferrari would be a dream. Was he just saying that because that's what everyone said? Or is it actually a dream of his? We don't know, but by the sounds of things, Ferrari are doing their best to find out. With Hamilton in the final year of his contract with Mercedes, Ferrari are sniffing around. Toto Wolff's constant insistence that a new deal will be signed is probably encouraging them. He said last summer a deal was in the making, it never happened. Then he said it would happen over the winter away from the media, and that didn't happen either. Since the start of the season, he said he is 100% sure Hamilton will sign, but again, nothing is happening. Clearly there are problems between the two. Why else would Wolff be left looking the fool when Hamilton could save him the embarrassment? Ferrari have seen that and think now is the time to bet big on the man who denied them a championship in 2018. The British paper Mail Sport are reporting that Ferrari are preparing to offer Hamilton a contract worth in the region of £40 million to tempt him into swapping Brackley for Maranello, with Ferrari's president John Elkann leading the charge in pursuit of the Brit. That is far more money than his current contract is estimated to be worth. The report adds that if Hamilton signs, then as per sources in both the UK and Italy, Ferrari would look to place Lewis Hamilton alongside Charles Leclerc, which would leave Carlos Sainz, who's recently quashed reports linking him with the Audi project, needing to look for a new home. The other option on the table is a swap deal which would see Leclerc take Hamilton's place at Mercedes. To give that £40 million contract some perspective, Max Verstappen is thought to be earning around £45 million a year. Is Lewis Hamilton worth that much money? I'm sure many of you will say yes, he is, but remember, this isn't going to be Ferrari investing in the future. This is probably a 2-season gamble. They'd be spending huge amounts of money to roll the dice and hope Hamilton can repeat the magic of Schumacher and win a title in a car that is not the best on the grid. And we're back to who is the best driver in history argument. My bad. Of course, Toto has done his best to quell this latest story, but considering his failure to get Hamilton's signature so far, I find it hard to trust him this time. These rumours come up every 2 years when we have to sign a new contract, said Wolff. But none of this is true. We discuss normally without any time pressure. But while time and friendship isn't at stake, the Austrian conceded yet again that it's not nice talking money with friends, acknowledging that it wasn't easy to negotiate finances. I said that too, he added. It's just uncomfortable that two friends, two blood brothers, who've been through thick and thin for 10 years, suddenly have to discuss money. But he added, I'm firmly convinced that we'll find each other. There's not a millimetre of doubt for me. I can't imagine anything else. If we give Lewis a competitive car, he will win for a long time. Look at Tom Brady, what he was still capable of in his 40s. I'll believe the rumours either way when there is an actual press release confirming his arrival at Ferrari or his continuation at Mercedes. But do any of these Ferrari rumours have any actual credibility, or is it all absolute rubbish? There are plenty of reasons to not believe them, but this is Ferrari we're talking about. Most of the things they do make zero sense. Firstly, Ferrari already have two drivers, both of whom are signed up until the end of 2024, meaning if Hamilton was to make the move to the Scuderia, someone would have to be cut. Charles Leclerc has been the poster boy at Ferrari since he joined the team in 2019. He may have been there alongside Vettel, but it was clear that the team saw him as the future. Since then, Charles has had the displeasure of being disappointed by Ferrari for 5 seasons. He joined the team just as they began their decline after challenging Mercedes and Hamilton in 2018. His timing couldn't have been worse, as the team has fallen further and further. 2020 may have been the lowest point after they got caught doing something very dodgy with their engine, but their painful failure to sustain a title challenge in 2022 has been followed by another step backwards this year. Ferrari may love Charles, but Charles isn't in love with Ferrari at the moment. They wouldn't want him to leave, but if the opportunity for a swap to Mercedes was offered, I think he would snap your hand off in his eagerness to accept. If that doesn't happen though, then Carlos Sainz would have to go. While it would cost Ferrari money to cut his contract short, that probably doesn't matter to Ferrari. They basically have the Bank of Italy at their backs, and a cancelled contract won't count to the cost cap, so who cares, right? Sainz hasn't produced the moments of excellence that Charles Leclerc has at times. He is more consistent and probably does the car justice, but with Charles occasionally outdriving the car, being remembered more than his blunders, it doesn't really matter. Carlos isn't going to win a championship with Ferrari unless they have the out-and-out best car on the grid, and that isn't going to happen anytime soon, so what use is he to the Scuderia? Hamilton has the ability to perform the miracles needed to win in a Ferrari, though many will point out that his years of dominance at Mercedes don't prove that. So from Ferrari's side, I can see a situation where either driver would go, leaving a space for Lewis, or both could stay. Like I said, I'll wait until the press release to believe it either way. The bigger question is if Mercedes would let Lewis leave. Hamilton has made Mercedes what they are. He's the one that established them as the best team in the sport for those 8 magical years. Surely they would do everything in their power to keep him on the team. Maybe, but you can bet that Hamilton will be using any offer from Ferrari as leverage. Lewis is in the perfect position to play Mercedes for every penny he can get, and as loyal as he may be, money always talks. Lewis will not come cheap to either team. Whether he's worth the huge amount of money being discussed or not, his contract will cost the winner tens of millions of pounds a year. Toto might want Hamilton to stay, but he doesn't own that team. Not completely anyway. Not everyone in Stuttgart or Brackley is convinced by what Hamilton has been delivering in recent seasons. The board knows that George Russell is the future of the team, and after he beat Hamilton last year, they're thinking it's time to make the transition. George will have a pay rise coming when he signs a contract extension later this year, but it will be tens of millions of pounds less than what Hamilton's new contract will cost. The board is right to wonder if that money could be better invested elsewhere. From Mercedes' point of view, he isn't winning the team titles at the moment, so is he worth the money he once was? Are Mercedes willing to go toe-to-toe with the financial might of Ferrari? Or is it time to call it quits on Formula One's most dominant dynasty and look to the future rather than the past? Why don't you let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.